At the tone, please record your message.
You ready? Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your flag.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Tenacious Tuesdays, where our very special guest, Attorney Barbara Arnwine, will be joining us in the second hour. But in the first hour, the first boss I ever had, Ron Daniels, professor and public servant, politician, was a third-party candidate, the Peace and Freedom Party, for President of the United States in 1992, in the U.S. presidential election in California. Daniels was previously the executive director of the Center for Constitutional Rights and the executive director of Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition, and worked on Jackson's 1984 presidential campaign, and was deputy campaign manager for Jesse Jackson in 1988. Professor Ron Daniels, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, it's great to be with you, my dear beloved brother. I never was your boss, brother. I just came along to all that genius and all that brilliance. Just wanted to polish it up a little bit.
Well, Southern Regional Director,
a little bit.
Southern Regional Director of Jesse Jackson for President in 1984, and definitely Deputy Campaign Director in 1980.
I did 88. My dear beloved brother, Dr. Ronald Walters, was the Chief Policy Advisor and Strategist in 84. He and I were very, very close friends, and quite frankly, Reverend Jesse Jackson has so much energy. His wife told him that he was not going to wear Ron Walters out. So he turned to me and said, "It's your turn."
All I remember is it was before minimum wage, and I worked for you, and I mean, it was rough. I got my irons in the fire working with Dr. Ron Daniels. Dr. Daniels, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, delighted to be with you, my brother.
Dr. Daniels, in this, our first segment, where we have about 4 additional minutes before we start covering the complete context within which we live and find ourselves at this very difficult hour in American history, can we spend this first 4 minutes, if you don't mind, your recollections on the significance and the importance of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who turns 84 years old tomorrow? Dr. Ron Daniels.
Well, absolutely willing to do that. I think a great deal about it because there are very few people who have the privilege and the honor of being a part of a presidential campaign, and Reverend Jackson afforded me that opportunity. And as a veteran social and political activist, and we had sort of knew each other back and forth, so I had the ability to observe and see some of the most amazing organizing that I've ever seen. There was never, ever a presidential campaign like Reverend Jesse Jackson. And I say that because he did that which was unconventional. I had the honor of literally going to people's homes and staying with them in their homes. I had the opportunity to go out in Iowa and other places to farmland that were being foreclosed, and to be with farmers. And the most amazing thing about this, and it's very, very telling in a very positive way, is it demonstrated that Black leadership in its most positive form, and no, I'm not saying this in a chauvinistic kind of manner, that when we as Black people stay in the tradition of Ma'at, that of righteousness and justice, then we can lead the world. And that's what Reverend Jesse Jackson proved. So we go out on the farm. It wasn't like a whole lot of Black people there. These were hundreds of white farmers. Cuddy Hay, Wisconsin. I remember going with him. We going down the street and somebody's waving a Confederate flag, but they were for Reverend Jesse Jackson. And on one memorable occasion, going to, I think it must have been Washington, 20,000 young students turning out for the vision that Reverend Jesse Jackson was articulating. And I think that's the most important thing. This is one of the most, and we would joke back and forth, but I meant it seriously. He's an authentic genius. And his genius is really the ability to take the complex ideas and break them down in a manner that Joe Madison would say, well, the goats could get them, get it. He would be able to talk about what was happening with the loss of jobs and drugs and whatever. He'd just say, drugs are coming in, jobs are going out. I mean, he just had a way of doing that and connecting with ordinary people. He'd be giving a speech and the kitchen help would be riveted to it because he would be talking to them in terms of the fact that they had to work one or two jobs in order to move things forward. And I think ultimately the most important is his ability to articulate policy. And that's what we need so desperately today. He was not just a civil rights leader who was in the political space. He had that too, and that combination was incredibly important. But he had the ability to articulate policy, the ability that we had people who had pension funds that were just sitting dormant, not being used. He talked about how they could be used in order to leverage those pension funds to do economic development. He talked about the whole decaying infrastructure and how that could generate literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of jobs. And he also had the guts to go meet with, Yasser Arafat or whomever it was on the global stage, and had the ability to go and get political prisoners released, like Goodman and so forth. So Reverend Jesse Jackson, one of the greatest leaders, not only an African-American leader, but one of the greatest leaders the country has ever produced.
I know that we only have a few minutes before we come forward, and so I do want to continue our conversation about the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Before you and I pivot from that conversation, tomorrow is the 84th birthday of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Many of you know that he is struggling with Parkinson's, and we certainly keep him in our prayers. But just no one has worked with him longer and closer over the last 40 years, quite like Ron Daniels, who served in a number of capacities with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And I might add, before we do come forward, I want to say this. I was reading the autobiography of Barack Obama, and in that autobiography, Barack Obama said that Jesse Jackson's campaigns in 84 and 88 were essentially symbolic. I take umbrage with that, and I'll deal with that when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Ron Daniels.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Ron Daniels, professor, public servant, was a third-party candidate for president of the United States in 1992 in the U.S. presidential election in the state of California. Daniels was previously the executive director of the Center for Constitutional Rights and executive director of Jesse Jackson's National Rainbow Coalition, and worked for Jackson's 1984 presidential campaign, and was deputy campaign manager for Jesse Jackson's campaign in 1988. Mr. Daniels, Professor Daniels, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
We're again delighted to be with you, and just very eager to have this conversation about one of the great leaders of all time, and to share ideas about the nature of the crisis we face in these United States of America and the world, for that matter.
I'm very much looking forward to that, Doc. But just before we do pivot to the world, I took great umbrage with Barack Obama's characterization of Jesse Jackson's campaign in 84 and 88 as symbolic. We worked our asses off, and we were in places that no African American in counties had ever traveled on the scale or on the size or of the significance that Jesse Jackson. He changed the rules of the Democratic Party. He ran other presidential candidates, senators, and congressmen out of the race. They simply could not compete with the infrastructure that you helped build state by state in order to win the Democratic nomination. Your thoughts on the idea that it was symbolic and not substantive?
Yeah, that's highly problematical, and you hit on one of the most important aspects of it. There is no Barack Obama if it were not for the concessions that were extracted from the Democratic Party in Atlanta. And of course, I welcomed Reverend Jackson to Atlanta, Piedmont Park, 15,000 people, because one of those concessions was to do away with the winner-take-all system and to go with a proportional system. So there's no way Barack Obama catches up with Hillary Rodham Clinton except for the proportional sharing of delegates that allowed him to chip away state by state by state and catch her. That was substantive. Not only substantive in that regard, there is no, well, I won't say absolutely none, but certainly there's no question but that the first African-American mayor of New York, Mayor the Honorable David Dinkins, was a result of the Jackson campaign. Why? Because I was in the room. I was in the meetings when Reverend Jackson was saying over and over again, this is a goal. We are going to do this. And getting 1199, SEIU, and others on board with the idea that the campaign had to be would lay the foundation for Dinkins to win. And you can go on and on and on in terms of particularly people who came to lead or play significant roles in the Democratic National Party, including people like Donna Brazile, whom we helped raise, and many, many others that we could cite. So clearly not symbolic at all, very, very powerful. And, fact of the matter is to in 1988 get somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 million votes, close to 1,200 delegates, and to go into that convention and with that kind of strength was unprecedented for an African American, and particularly for a progressive candidate who really ran on economic common ground and helped to wed Black and brown. I mean, it was a serious rainbow. And I know that because one of the things I took very seriously was this question of making sure that we had representatives from all of the different constituencies. I was just ruminating this morning about the first gay and lesbian march on Washington. In fact, I'm getting ready to reach out to Leslie Kagan, because I'm going to do a little legacy show. And Leslie Kagan, really the really strong lesbian and gay activists and organizers for many, many years. And of course, Reverend Jackson, made the decision, in the face of homophobia in our community and criticism, that he in fact would go and be the keynote speaker for the first lesbian and gay march on Washington. So there's a lot of substance in terms of the genius of the Reverend Jesse Jackson and his legacy.
I am when I think about Reverend in the context of his 84th birthday and 1984, African Americans on the scale of building coalitions, not only within major municipalities around the country, but the idea of Iowa, predominantly lily white, New Hampshire, predominantly lily white, but moving the state of South Carolina up in the Democratic Party primary process as one of his concessions to ensure that African Americans had a voice in selecting the Democratic nominee early as opposed to later really did change the future of Joe Biden and numbers of others, including saving the campaign of Barack Obama himself when he turned the corner to South Carolina as well. By the way, the state where Jesse Jackson was born.
Right. It's interesting because I was at out in San Francisco at a meeting, and once people kind of knew who I was and whatnot, there were people who came up and were reflecting on the campaign and who were very proud of the fact that they had gone to the same school and whatever. So again, on the substance level, one of the other things we cannot ignore, and it was incredible because, Marion Barry and he were very close friends, and Marion Barry, one of the great mayors, black mayors, but a mayor of great consequence, and a gentleman named Jim Hightower, who was the Secretary of Agriculture for in Texas.
Yes, he was.
So here's the genius. So Reverend Jackson is saying, he's talking about, you're leading white farmers in that constituency. Here we are dealing with urban issues by and large. He said, but we have the same interests. Why aren't we combining those interests? So you may recall, here's Marion Barry going to Texas, and here is Jim Hightower going into the city of Washington, D.C., and they sort of meeting and beginning to talk about how to forge their constituencies. I mean, that's the kind of genius that I'm talking about in terms of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson and the whole issue that you really sort of think about now. A lot of grievance about, and I think legitimately to some extent, folks who have been hurt by plant closings and in the Rust Belt and particularly the Rust Belt in Northeast and the Midwest. Well, what was Reverend Jesse Jackson saying? He put forth a policy saying, no. There should be a policy that you cannot close a plant without giving 2 years notice. And then you must also have a program for the restoration of that community. But what if we had that policy in place today? And in fact, I often think about the fact that there are so many things that people have forgotten about, that have no memory of, that, being around and being blessed to still be alive and out here to remind people, which is what I want to continue to do, is incredibly important, particularly in the moment that we face right now, because some of those policies, some of those same ideas are incredibly important in terms of moving the country forward.
Professor Daniels, as you know, Reverend Jackson's voice has been at this hour silenced by Parkinson's. If he were with us, and he is physically with us, but if he were with us as the fighter that you remember him to be, what would he see and what would you together be fighting with him for in the present context within which we find ourselves?
Well, I think he would be repeating the whole notion of bold leadership in a new direction. And I think he would see that, as I have been talking about, in terms of that which will indeed rescue us from this crisis, meaning Black people and people of color, but also the entirety of the nation. And that is a rainbow wave. A rainbow wave rooted in the most oppressed, the most marginalized within this nation. And I put it this way, that the rejected stones will be the cornerstone of a new order in this country. So, and a sense of optimism. I was sharing with some young people the other day, just something, the phrase "keep hope alive," and how people just sort of take that for granted. But the hopeless people are never people who struggle. People struggle when they have hope. And so something that seems that's what I mean when I'm saying the genius of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Something as simple as a phrase that he repeated over and over again: keep hope alive, keep hope alive. People sort of, but he's saying that if you have hope, then there's a promise and there's a possibility. It is that hope that led people to go across that Edmund Pettus Bridge. It is that hope against great odds that people throughout the South rose up and faced a Jim Crow and the Ku Klux Klan and whatever. So that's what Reverend Jesse Jackson would be proclaiming today. And the other thing he would be proclaiming positively and in a negative, non-chauvinist way is that we still have in the Black community, even though we register at a higher level than most other groups, and that's a good advance, we still have a whole lot of rocks still laying on the ground. And those rocks still laying on the ground represent either non-voting or non-registered voters. And he would be state by state by state, he would be showing that it is the margin of victories, even in some red states. We have the ability to flip those red states. And I was very excited because there was some young people from Tennessee who were talking about how they are going to put their energy together and look at those red legislative districts that were carried by 500 to 1,000 votes. And they are committed to going after those rocks just laying on the ground to flip those districts. That's what Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson would be talking about.
Dr. Daniels, we have about 6 minutes before we come forward on our hard break here on KBLA and around the country. Let me ask you this question. We often hear about 84 and 88, but in 82 and 83, we hit the ground on a Southern crusade from Virginia around to Texas, county by county, registering voters. Luke Carter, Jack Odell, I remember, focused on a lot of the international policy and the global effect that agriculture was having in these deep rural states, and states like Alabama and Mississippi, who were still politically oppressing African Americans, even though these states had like 40% African Americans or more. Remember now, Benny Thompson was a supervisor when we met him in 1982, 83, and 84. He was not Congressman Benny Thompson. There was no Jim Clyburn district in South Carolina when Jesse Jackson ran in 1984. It was eventually carved out of that run as we began to register and identify African Americans in the Deep South, consistent with the Voting Rights Act, bringing William Bradford Reynolds from the Reagan Justice Department, who stopped elections in certain counties because those counties were systematically denying African Americans the right to vote. And it's coming out of that Southern crusade, if you will, Dr. Daniels, that ultimately led to Jesse Jackson in 1984 and 1988. We have about 4 minutes. Dr. Daniels, your thought on the early campaign before everyone turned their attention to the speeches and all that stuff right there.
Well, Reverend Jackson is an incredible organizer. I mean, and he's, this is his brilliance, this is his genius. And let me just say that one of the things that's important about that is the ability to reach across constituencies. Because though he is primarily in the King's legacy, he also embraced the Malcolm legacy as well. You know what I mean? So he, and in a period where Black power and Black nationalism was exploding onto the scene, as represented by the Gary Nassar Black Political Convention in 1972, where Reverend made one of the great speeches there as well. It was important to have a figure who could do both, who could appeal to the King tradition and the faith leaders, but also to radical activists and organizers in a rational and sane way. Not to say that what they were saying was irrational, but in order to translate it pragmatically into something that could be very effective. So, and he's gifted, he has the gift of oratory, one of the greatest orators of all time. And speaking from an authenticity of his own experience, coming from his own background and his own upbringing, all of that contributed to making him the premier civil rights leader in that era. And that was the other amazing thing about it, because as we moved into the space where there were many white left and progressive organizations who themselves were splintered and whatever, it allowed Reverend Jesse Jackson to create the Rainbow Coalition, which I believe had the greatest potential for radical social change in this country since the populist revolt in the 1890s in this country. And that's another story that needs to be teased out fuller. So the concept of the Rainbow Coalition, which was betrayed by white supremacy and white racism at the end of the day, the Rainbow Coalition came the other way around. It came from the inside out. It had a strong Black base, and it therefore could reach out to brown people and others, and then bring in those white progressives who themselves were disorganized, until Reverend Jesse Jackson talked to them about the patches and peaches, and told them that each of their patches were significant, but they were not big enough. We needed a protective quilt. and that kind of genius in terms of the languaging and messaging also represents who Reverend Jesse Jackson is.
Frank Watkins and I took that language to Congress, and we made some similar discoveries that Dad experienced on the campaign trail. And we decided to turn our shift to the Constitution itself, something that we felt the American people needed to restore their faith and belief in the Constitution of the United States, and only to find when we got to Congress that we needed a rainbow coalition of 2/3 of the United States Congress in order to amend the document. We needed a rainbow coalition in all 50 states, 3/5 of the states, to approve a constitutional amendment just to get equal high quality schools for all Americans, just to get equal high quality healthcare for all Americans, just to get a clean, safe, and sustainable environment for all Americans, just to get the constitutional right to vote. Reverend Jackson opened a window into the idea of we can't do this from Chicago alone. We can't do it from Atlanta alone. We can't do it from Los Angeles alone. We're going to have to convince all of the American people if we're going to save democracy for everybody. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Dr. Ron Daniels. Dr. Ron Daniels is going to continue this conversation as we pivot when we come forward to all of the issues that are confronting us as a nation at this hour. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump told reporters at the White House Monday that Sean Diddy Combs personally asked him for a pardon.
I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
The hip-hop mogul was recently sentenced to just over 4 years in federal prison on sex crime charges. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is rejecting a GOP plan to temporarily extend Obamacare subsidies, calling it, quote, laughable, end quote. He wants a permanent extension, noting Republicans made Trump's tax cuts permanent earlier this year. And the 13-year-old girl found dead in Black R&B singer David's car has been laid to rest in California. TMZ reports Celeste Rivas-Hernandez's funeral was held Monday in Rowland Heights. Her decomposed body was found last month in the trunk of David's impounded Tesla in Hollywood. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Celebrating 100 years, Mount St. Mary's University LA is dedicated to moving your life and career forward. Earn your undergraduate or graduate degree and become unstoppable. Find out how at msmu.edu.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers remain undefeated in the postseason after a tense win Monday night in Philadelphia. The Dodgers held on for a 4-3 victory. They're up 2-0 in the best-of-5 divisional playoffs. They can close out the Phillies with a win in Game 3 Wednesday night at Dodger Stadium. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said there are no plans to move the NBA All-Star Game if the Clippers are punished by the league for alleged salary cap violations. The NBA is investigating the Clippers and team owner Steve Ballmer. The Clippers are the host franchise for the All-Star Game, scheduled for February 15th at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. After Week 5 of the NFL regular season, New York Jets coach Aaron Glenn remains the only coach in the league without a win. The Jets are 0-5. Glenn, in his first season with the Jets, is one of 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Farm. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Professor Ron Daniels is a professor, politician, a former third-party presidential candidate. Daniels was previously the executive director of the Center for Constitutional Rights and the executive director of Jesse Jackson's National Rainbow Coalition. Professor Daniels, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Delighted to be with you, chopping it up, and hopefully we are getting some ideas out there that are pertinent, relevant, and will move people to act.
I'd like to pivot to your expertise as the executive director, former executive director of the Center for Constitutional Rights. These are perilous times that we are living in. The attack on the Voting Rights Act from Texas to California, to Missouri, to Louisiana, and even the efforts by the governor of Texas to, if you will, control or to limit illegal immigration, if there's such thing as an illegal human being, by just a few short years ago, sending bus loads of immigrants to the city of Chicago, to other cities throughout the country.
New York, yes.
And then now, the very person who sent them here illegally is now sending special troops with the consent of the president to the United States, not only to round up the immigrants he sent here, but to round up some Negroes with some warrants in Chicago, in New York, in other cities that are unfamiliar with the Texas National Guard. These are perilous times. Dr. Daniels, we have about 6 minutes in this segment. Take your time and give us the context of what we're looking at.
Well, we're facing the most perilous time in the history of this country. We've never faced a moment like this, and it is testing the Constitution and, frankly, finding cracks that we had not really anticipated. So all that you talked about is certainly true, but what we're experiencing really is a bold authoritarian move, which was previewed in Project 2025. People thought he was not serious when he disclaimed it, but obviously this was a document designed to figure out how to have essentially a democratic coup. And so what you find is a situation where the Justice Department, which is supposed to be by norms, and I use that word norm intentionally, separate and apart from the president, is now being enlisted and weaponized for retribution, revenge, and all kinds of projects. But here's what the important thing is in terms of testing the Constitution. What we're finding is that many of these areas are norms. They're not the law. They were not enacted. There's kind of a gentle person's agreement among parties that we will wage these struggles and battles with some rules that we agree on. But the problem is, what Trump is pointing out is, well, that may be true, but there ain't no law that prevents me from doing this, except in some instances where, the sending of National Guard into California, into Oregon and places is being checked, but it's being checked with some trepidations because, what people should understand is that all of the branches of government are controlled now by the ultra-right and MAGA-centered movement, which is permeated with white supremacy and grievance and things that are antagonistic really to all kinds of people, including Black and brown, but also working people who in some ways can't envision why it is that they're in fact in such pain. So the whole idea of attacking Comey, for example, he will stand up to it, but on the other hand, this retribution becomes problematic because you got to pay the bills. You got to hire lawyers. So even if you win, your reputation is out there. He's checking corporations and universities and whipping them into line. I mean, this is the most serious crisis we have faced in the history of these United States of America. And it's because he has been able to essentially assemble a cult who is willing to follow his very command. This is a form of fascism that is unfolding. Imagine standing before assembling the generals, as he did a week or so ago, and having a totally incompetent person, Hedrick, who knows nothing about defense and can't even defend himself in many respects against alcoholism and womanizing. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I mean, he's got his own issues, and he's strutting across the stage, attacking women and telling people that, women are we have a male war department, and then attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion has become the new attack on affirmative action. So on all fronts, this is a full court press, and they're doing it in blitzkrieg fashion. They're doing it so how do you catch up with it? They're doing stuff, executive orders, so fast until it's hard to even catch up with them. So that's what we're facing, and as it relates to Black America, Mark Morial outlined it well in the State of Black America report. He said, we are in a state of emergency. And I agree with him. In fact, I was just taking a peek at my book, Still on This Mission, the Vision and Mission of Dr. Ron Daniels, in which I have also talked about the state of emergency in Black America, except the article that was written way back in 2010 was a state of emergency without urgency. So the question becomes, yes, first we must be absolutely clear that this is an incredibly dangerous crisis. And it's like Vernon Jordan once said, he said, if white America is in danger, if white America gets a cold, Black America gets pneumonia. If in fact democracy is in danger, then Black people obviously are in danger. So what we need right now is a united front. I mean, we may have some differences on this, that, and the other, and whatever. And I'm saying, look, we need to put those differences behind us. We need a united front that will, and we have some weapons that we can use. And those weapons are boycotts, ballots, and civil disobedience. And we need to employ all of them in order to push back and to regain a sense of relative normalcy so we can fight for the next phase in terms of creating a more perfect union.
And maybe even a general strike. I've argued, and I began arguing yesterday, that that could very well end up being African-American mayors and mayors of goodwill shutting down the major ports of this nation and grinding this entire system to a halt with the Teamsters. Shut down the interstates, shut down the airports, slow America down, shut it down.
Well, this is what what A. Philip Randolph had in terms of the original March on Washington, by the way. I mean, that was the idea. It was that kind of civil disobedience. And I agree. That's why I said the three major areas we have in this pursuit is boycotts, ballots, and civil disobedience on a scale that will bring this ship that is awry to halt in tow, so we can then, re-steer it in a more positive direction.
I think that's right. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our guest in this hour is Professor Dr. Ron Daniels, one-time presidential candidate, field director in the southern regional part of the United States for Jesse Jackson in 1984, deputy campaign manager by 1988. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. Ron Daniels.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. Ever try to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? That era is over. Now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car. It's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay. Things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, and eBay subsidiary.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Is the president of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century and convener of the National African Reparations Commission. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Daniels, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Great to be with you, having a wonderful and encouraging conversation. I'm feeling hopeful in terms of what the possibilities are. Just having this exchange with you, my brother.
Well, the possibilities might include a monthly visit on our show from Dr. Ron Daniels. He might be signing up for a job now that he wasn't planning on.
I don't mind auditioning this. I'm down for it.
Well, we'll talk about that shortly after the show. Dr. Daniels, let me go back to the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution for a minute. Jasmine Crockett in Texas is fighting for her life, political life, that is. And so is Al Green. Donald Trump told Governor Abbott that he needs 5 more seats out of the state of Texas, and the state of Texas rolled over, essentially chopping up the Voting Rights Act in order to try and accomplish this feat. They may have made another mistake. That is, they may have made some Republicans even more vulnerable to serious Democratic challengers. We could end up with more Democrats, but we just end up with fewer black folks. And that's true in California, Illinois, New York, or wherever these Democrats are now joining the struggle to chop up these districts. While it's not the Democrat in Missouri, it is Emmanuel Cleaver's district.
Right.
As the state of Missouri begins to reflect upon its plan. You're very familiar with the Robinson versus Clay decision in Louisiana, that threatens now the seat of Cleo Fields. And the anxiety that I saw at the CBC amongst members who are holding their heads high, but very concerned that just like First Reconstruction, and when we had 14 African Americans in the House and 2 United States senators, we could by 2030 or 2032 have 0 blacks in Congress because of the way they're treating the Voting Rights Act and, of course, because of the Democratic response to that treatment. We'd rather have Democrats, more and more Democrats than black folk.
Yes.
Ron Daniels, your thoughts on the significance of the Voting Rights Act and what our community can do to preserve what's left of it?
Well, let me just say that it's not just the Voting Rights Act. I mean, it's a cauldron of reactionary, damaging weapons. And of course, one of the things we have to, when I'm in the barbershop and various other places talking to black people about who say that voting doesn't matter, why are we doing this, is to say just a simple proposition. And this does not apply to all white people. It's hyperbole to be sure. But if white folks don't want you to do something, that's a sure indication that you better do it. Because it says that so this voting thing, they're not trying to suppress the voting right for fun. It's because they understand the power of the black vote. So what I want to do is sort of like let's broaden it out a little bit in this regard. So if we have a state of emergency in Black America, my concern is it's a state of emergency without urgency, even at the Congressional Black Caucus. And by that, what I mean is that, yeah, everybody's a little concerned and whatever, but it's going back to Reverend's proposition. It's a patch over here. It's a piece over here. I do not see a coordinated strategy. And this is what my little puny voice is called for, is that in this moment, what we need is what Ramona Edelin used to call an offensive. We need a cultural, political, spiritual offensive. And it needs to be bold in the sense that, we've got to gather our people. And a part of that is we need, and I think we should have done this long ago, we need an emergency summit of Black leadership. And even though we may talk about some things privately in terms of strategy and so forth and so on, what our people need to see to keep hope alive is our leaders massively across the board coming together to say there is a state of emergency and we as Black leaders are addressing it. That has not happened. We have different pieces that are happening here and there. That's one of them. The other thing that we need to do, and by the way, my recommendation is no better place to do that than in Selma. Talking about the Voting Rights Act, that meeting I've called for to be in Selma. And it ain't too late to do it this year in 3 or 4 months, because if it's urgent, we will find a way to get 100 leaders in a room across the board to talk about what the strategy should be moving forward.
Ron, you've been on two sides of organizing. Let me just be clear about that. There are 3,067 counties in the United States, 50 different states, 20,000 or more cities. You worked and ran Jesse Jackson's 84 and 88 campaigns. I get that kind of organizing, the political organizing necessary to sustain and even improve upon our progress. Now, just a few short weeks ago, a tragic event occurred in Utah, and overnight, there were 18,000 requests, followed by the idea of 35,000 chapters, literally to be founded at colleges and campuses around this country, even in high schools. The state of Oklahoma is authorizing it for high school instruction, really white minority rights, that which Charlie Kirk stood for.
Right.
I have not seen a Black organization, 501c3, political or otherwise, that comes even close to the idea of political organizing on that which you have experienced yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I'm saying is that a part of it, that's why when I say cultural, I mean that it has to do with our sense of who we are as a people, right? And that's, again, where Reverend Jesse Jackson has always been strong. And one of the things that I'm just and you know this because Gary Flowers was the executive director of it. There was at once, just in terms of basic organizing, all of our organizations used to be represented. It was not as inclusive as I would have liked to have seen it, but nonetheless, the Urban League, NAACP, there were like at least 25 organizations. It was called the Black Leadership Forum. It used to meet once a month. Gary Flowers was the executive director of it. There are 1 or 2 other people from the Rainbow family who also served in that capacity. It does not exist now. I mean, how does that happen? How do we be facing this crisis and we just have now the legacy 8? And I love them. I know them all, and they're doing. But we need to be bolder, and we need to be bigger. And the other thing is, we have to pick up on the threads of things that are already done. Not everything has to be new. We can use new technology, social media to mobilize, organize, all those things. We're coming up on an anniversary of the Montgomery boycott. I don't remember what anniversary it is, but it's coming up. Dr. King, when he made the famous mountaintop speech, a part of that speech does not get enough illumination, is before he took us to the mountaintop and talked about what he saw in the future, was to speak to his people. He said, we need to use what we have in our hands. He talked about seal test milk and Wonder Bread and Coca-Cola. He said, if they're not treating us right, we need to learn how to redistribute the pain. We need to use boycotts, or let's use the term economic sanctions. Now, what's happening is Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, I don't know whatever, he has stepped out there. And what I test is, how does this permeate? Now, my daughter and others, they may not know about a whole lot we're doing, but they know about the target question. Papa D, do you know about the target thing? Like, I don't really know, but I'm saying when it permeates to that level, it tells me that that's what we need to be moving on in terms of building the massive resistance. Why? If we strike a blow at the heart of corporate America, particularly the retail section, and we withdraw our patronage, they will come begging us to say, what do I need to do to stop this pain? And they will be emboldened to move on the administration in terms of that. Plus the ideas that you're talking about. This is freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. The notion of King and Gandhi See, the other thing about Gandhi people don't understand is this wasn't a touchy-feely thing. When Gandhi was conducting these campaigns, it struck at the heart of the economic dominance of the British Empire, right down to when he took off those suits and put on the loincloth, because in so doing, he was striking at the textile industry. That's the kind of bold cultural, spiritual, defensive we need. And I put all of those elements in, because at the end of the day, the spiritual, whether you want to define it as religious or whatnot, is the essence of who we are as a people. We've always had a kind of spiritual foundation to what we do that helps drive us. And then that cultural question becomes important, because we have to believe in ourselves. Again, Reverend Jesse Jackson saying, I am somebody. I am somebody. And then driving it. So I'm just hoping that somehow in the next few weeks or whatever, people will wake up and we in fact move as a coordinated, and the power that is, other people will move with us. We have allies in the brown community and red, brown, yellow, and white. We have allies, but we have to be at the center of this rainbow wave that in fact will redeem America and lead us towards that more perfect union.
Dr. Daniels, thank you for being our very special guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Forgive me for getting a little animated, but when I'm with you, brother, and we start talking about the Jackson tradition, I get inspired, I get encouraged. And even though I'm only 38, moving towards 48, you know what I mean? I still got a few blows to throw in this battle.
You ain't wrong for that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest has been Dr. Ron Daniels on KBLA Talk 1580 at Tenacious Tuesdays. Barbara Arnwine when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump told reporters at the White House Monday that Sean Diddy Combs personally asked him for a pardon.
I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
The hip-hop mogul was recently sentenced to just over 4 years in federal prison on sex crime charges. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is rejecting a GOP plan to temporarily extend Obamacare subsidies, calling it, quote, laughable, end quote. He wants a permanent extension, noting Republicans made Trump's tax cuts permanent earlier this year. And the 13-year-old girl found dead in Black R&B singer David's car has been laid to rest in California. TMZ reports Celeste Rivas-Hernandez's funeral was held Monday in Rowland Heights. Her decomposed body was found last month in the trunk of David's impounded Tesla in Hollywood. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Celebrating 100 years, Mount St. Mary's University LA is dedicated to moving your life and career forward. Earn your undergraduate or graduate degree and become unstoppable. Find out how at msmu.edu.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
UCLA interim coach Tim Skipper was named College Football Coach of the Week. In just his second game on the job, Skipper helped direct the upset of the year so far in college football when UCLA beat Penn State Saturday at the Rose Bowl, 42-37. UCLA was 0-4 entering the game. Penn State was ranked 7th in the country. The African-American coach, a native of New Orleans, doesn't want the Bruins to be a one-hit wonder. The next game for Skipper and the Bruins is Saturday at Michigan State. The Bruins are 1-1 in the Big Ten Conference. If you drink Hennessy, be on the lookout for LeBron's name showing up on certain VSOP bottles. The Lakers star has agreed to become a new spokesperson for the popular beverage. LeBron's name will be displayed on certain Hennessy bottles with an image of a crown, a reference to his King James nickname. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, I am D.L. Hughley, host of the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, heard weekdays from 2 to 4 exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. I promise to make you think a little, but laugh a whole lot more. So tune in to the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show 2 to 4 only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I really enjoyed that conversation that I had with Dr. Ron Daniels. Really a mentor, a friend. When I was in college, a very young man working on the Jesse Jackson for President campaign, which was not symbolic. It was serious business. A lot of relationships were strained as a result of those runs for president. Remember now, African Americans largely, since the Voting Rights Act of 1965, had identified and been on the side of the Democratic Party. Remember, Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, Daddy King, was a Lincoln Republican. African Americans coming out of First Reconstruction identified with the party of Lincoln out of loyalty to the assassinated president because of the Emancipation Proclamation and ultimately the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. We were Lincoln Republicans when the 15th Amendment was added to the Constitution. The Republicans, the first 14 blacks in Congress, were Republicans. 2 black senators from the Deep South were Republicans, Lincoln Republicans. Now, today's Republicans are not Lincoln Republicans. Today's Democrats are closer to yesterday's Lincoln Republicans than the Republican Party of today. Today's Republican Party, with its Confederate flags, which Abraham Lincoln would have abhorred because they seceded from the Union after the shot was fired in Fort Sumter. How did the Confederate flag make it all the way over to the Republican Party? That was the flag of the Democratic Party. Yes, the Confederate flag during the Civil War was the flag of the Southern Agrarian Democratic Slaveholding Party. And so all we have to do is follow the flag to find out where the politics are. The party of Nancy Pelosi, the party of Hakeem Jeffries, the party of Jesse Jackson, I said Hakeem Jeffries, the party of Nancy Pelosi, the party of Jasmine Crockett, the party of AOC, the party of Jonathan Jackson, the party of Emmanuel Cleaver. The Democratic Party is the party of the American flag now. And the party of the Confederate flag is the Republican Party. So yes, race is a factor in how the flags are positioned and how the flags are moved. One thing is for sure, Black people are responsible for one star being added to the flag along with the slave state. From the Kansas-Nebraska Act, the California Act, the Tilden-Hayes Compromise, keeping the balance of the slave powers in Washington, D.C. and in the national government has in large measure led us to where we are. I believe Barbara Arnwine is hiding backstage in our studio. Barbara is the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me.
It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Grind with Barbara Arnwine, and we simply would not have a tenacious show if you were not our very special regular contributor. Barbara, I'm so glad that you're back.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Barbara, we've got about 3 minutes. We got about 3 minutes before we come forward. And I know there are a lot of topics that you want to cover, but in this early 3 minutes, tomorrow is the 84th birthday of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I know that he's been a source of inspiration for you, for your movement, and in your life. Share with us in these 3 minutes your thoughts on the significance of Jesse Jackson.
Oh, my God. I mean, Black political power as we know it would never look as good as it does today if it weren't for Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. I mean, people get confused. He really changed the look. I mean, the whole Democratic primary, think about it. It used to be, winner take all. And he's the reason why you have, the disbursement of the, allocation in the in the voting. People don't understand that everywhere I go, I meet local leaders. And one thing I can tell you in common, at least 6 out of 10 will tell me that Jesse Jackson changed their lives. They had to work for him, worked with him, admired him from afar, sought his tutorship, his mentorship. I mean, I just don't know what this country would look like I mean, the Congressional Black Caucus would not have the number of members it has. The black political, all these incredible people from Donna Brazile to, I mean, you name it.
Leon Moore and Greg Moore.
Barbara Skinner. Come on now.
I'm looking at Greg Moore's book right now. Greg T. Moore, the Beyond the Voting Rights Act. Greg Moore used to be a staffer for the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
See, and people don't know that. I mean, if you filled up, you could fill an auditorium up with all the people that he has influenced and changed and enriched their intellectual reach and their tactical strategic reach. He's amazing. That's all I can say. I've never known anybody like your dad, and I don't know if I ever will, but I am an incredible admirer. I always said, I wonder what it would have been like to meet Dr. King, what it would have been like to have been, I mean, I met Mandela, but to have really spent time at their feet, to have learned from them. I mean, your dad's generous, his generosity of spirit, his intellect, his sharpness, his vision. My Lord, what a man.
I was just thinking, and I know that we're going to be coming forward in just a moment, about just last year when Joe Biden decided to withdraw from the presidency after having winning the Democratic nomination for obvious reasons. There was a call by some Democrats to have a quick primary to select a new nominee.
Yes, there was.
And we insisted that Joe Biden be the nominee, in large measure because the South Carolina primary, Jim Clyburn, made Joe Biden the Democratic nominee. And in the regular order of that process, a black woman succeeds Joe Biden. You don't just get to create a new primary process just because he's leaving the process, because Ketanji Brown Jackson and Kamala Harris and black mayors and black women engaging this system in large measure is because of the rules in the Democratic Party established by Jesse Jackson that made it possible for Kamala Harris to rightfully, as vice president, succeed Joe Biden, whom we gave the nomination to under Jesse Jackson's rules. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Tenacious Tuesdays on the Grind with Barbara Arnwine, my favorite host on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Barbara Arnwine when we come forward.
Thank you.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're on the ground with Barbara Arnwine, Tenacious Tuesday. She is the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, former president of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Dr. Arnwine, Dr. Barbara Arnwine. Barbara Arnwine is a lawyer, so she's a JD. That makes her Dr. Barbara Arnwine, has become internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991. Barbara, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. You know, it's interesting. They call me Dr. Arnwine because of my honorary doctorate from Duke University. So I have an honorary doctorate of laws. So that's why they do that. I don't do it, but folks do it all the time. You know, Black folks love to make you a doctor. Even if
Yeah, they sure do now. Tavis got 22. Tavis got about 30 honorary doctorates. He's still Tavis. I got 13 honorary doctorates. I'm still Jesse. So yes, we love doctor. We got doctor going on. So you are Dr. Arnwine. But I can't speak for Tavis. I can speak for the 13 that I just got for speaking at the graduations. I probably did not.
You got it. You got it.
You've earned yours, Barbara.
No. But
I have not written a thesis.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, that's why I just wanted to clarify is that's why they do that. And I'm always like, can you please not? Please no. Please
I'm sorry. Attorney Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, listen. These are, and I want to talk to LA for a minute. And then since you're Los Angelino, Lina.
And Angelino.
You know, I got kind of lulled asleep by the National Guard presence in downtown Los Angeles until they went into a park where there were some of our brown brothers and sisters rounded up by the National Guard in Donald Trump's troops and Marines and everybody else he sent to California. It's becoming increasingly clear that even though Mayor Karen Bass handled these issues and the congressional delegation, including Congresswoman Carmela Gadot, did a wonderful job, I think, of giving us some indication of what was coming our way. By the time it gets here to Chicago, this is a real refined machine that California has not experienced. I mean, DC has not experienced what's going on here. You know, and with the 400 or more stormtroopers that Governor Abbott, who sent the Hispanics, the illegal immigrants, the so-called illegal immigrants, I don't believe there is anything such thing as an illegal person, but he sent them up here by bus.
Yes.
And dropped them off in the winter, below zero weather. Our mayor, our city council, our city of big, broad shoulders, opened its arms and said, we're not going to let people freeze to death. And we began housing them in our sanctuary city, which we see as our Christian responsibility for people who show up in mass because of Mr. Abbott. And now he's sending his troops here from Texas to kick our behinds. I do not feel good about that. I really feel some kind of way, and I'm proud of Governor Pritzker and Governor Brandon Johnson for standing up the way in which they are standing up. This is a different animal here in Chicago. Your thoughts?
Oh, yes. I mean, you know, listen, I am so upset, and I am just over it with this administration and the whole attack on the South Shore apartments. That whole attack on those Black families. And don't get it wrong, folks. I mean, just don't get it wrong. I'm talking now, you know, if you're Black and you're sitting around talking about that has nothing to do with me, you are in trouble. You better open up your eyes because they are coming after the, quote, immigrant population, quote, you know, the population that is undocumented. But have you noticed that they're also coming after Black folks? Memphis, come on now. Let's get clear about this. New Orleans, come on now. You know, let's get clear about what they're doing, folks. You know, they are coming for Black folks. DC, they're coming for us. And if you're sitting up there thinking somehow you insulated because you're not, you know, Latino and you're something else, honey, you are blind. Because when they went to that apartment complex, they knew that apartment complex was predominantly Black. What did they do, people? They brought helicopters and had agents of the federal government rappel down to the roof and then rappel down and kick in people's windows, crashing through their windows. They had chainsaws out on the ground cutting down fences. They went in there to destroy that habitat, to destroy the lives of Black families, working class Black families. And don't tell me that they thought there was some Tren de Agua, Arga, whatever there. They knew who was there. That is not the way the Fourth Amendment works. The Fourth Amendment says if you have a reasonable suspicion that something's going on, then you seek a warrant. You get a warrant that says that I am targeting X person based on X information. You don't just run willy-nilly up into somebody's life and their apartments and their livelihood while they're sleeping at night, getting ready to go to get up and work or get their children ready the next morning. And you then take out 52-year-olds, 65 years old, former veterans, Black, children 5 years old, and you shackle them. And you telling me that this is some kind of constitutional action? It's not at all. Folks, if we don't stand up for Chicago in this moment, we're all gone. There is, if you're Scott and all these idiots that were on CNN talking about, it's that trend group, the gangs, they were just trying to get the gangs. They weren't. They know that nobody from that gang had been arrested since August of this year. They were all September. So you telling me that they couldn't do some intelligence on where people actually were? They arrested 37 people, everybody. How many do you think, everybody listening, how many do you think were members of the gang that they, quote, were targeting? Right, zero. Only 2 of the 37 had any gang affiliation and none to the gang that they were targeting. That is incompetence, but it's more than that. It's brutality. They meant to disrupt. They didn't care. It wasn't about the gang. They didn't care about that. They weren't trying to make anything safe. They were punishing the people of Chicago. And they were punishing Black people. And your brother said something on my show earlier today that hurt me because we've seen it here in D.C. He said that the weekend before this raid, that Saturday before the Sunday raid, right? But anyway, that weekend before the raid, that you had all kinds of hundreds of families out on the lake shore enjoying themselves. Black families having a great time. He says, you go down there now, it's a ghost town. Ghost town. That's what they want. They want to destroy our liberties, our freedom of movement, our freedom of, our power. They want us so scared that we're like, I don't want to go to Chicago. That's what they want. I don't want to go to D.C. That's how do you destroy Black political power? By driving people out and by dispersing them. This is what they're after. This is all about, if you guys don't get it, it's about 2026, 2028. It's about political power. They're attacking blue cities, Black cities. They're destroying Black political power at this level. And then, of course, as you know, in the Louisiana versus Calais case, they're trying to destroy it at the Supreme Court level.
Barbara,
So
let me ask you
don't
this
get it
question.
twisted, folks. Don't get it twisted.
Barbara, let me ask you this question. And oftentimes when we conduct polling in electoral processes, and I'm sure over the course of your career, you've seen hundreds of polls.
Uh-huh.
In light of this occupation in these cities, if the election were held today, that's always a question that we ask in a poll. If the election were held today, how would the voters perform? How would they feel? Based on your experience in this civil rights and human rights space, with American cities under occupation, and it's probably only going to grow. If the election were held today, Are you still optimistic about Democrats doing well in the midterm elections in this country?
I am not a Democrat partisan. So, I don't think that way. I think about, will Black voters be able to exercise their right to vote? And what I worry about is that all these actions are designed to try to prevent that. And I think that it's no accident. They're trying to instill fear, but they're also trying to disrupt what you would call, Black power concentrations, right? These are, Memphis and New Orleans and Chicago. Those are Black power concentrations, and Black makers. Blacks. They're after, trying to destroy that Black political power, and we're crazy if we don't see it. I mean, that whole Calais case that's going to be argued next week in the Supreme Court. If those quote non-Blacks have their way, we would lose at least, and people keep saying, Barbara, it's more than that. We would lose at least 23, members of the Congressional Black Caucus if that case is taken to its extreme measure. So it's all about destroying Black political power. These people are white supremacists, folks. They're genetic maniacs. They believe that somehow their skin color entitles them to political domination, and they hate power sharing. They hate Black political power. Not to mention brown political power.
And I don't. When you think about, since you brought up brown political power, when you think about the distribution of votes in the previous election, a large number of our brown brothers and sisters voted for the other guy, right? Mm-hmm. And are you sensing on the brown side of this Rainbow Coalition some kind of buyers or voters' remorse? I don't hear them raising as much hell as you and I are raising today. They seem to be far more quiet. Talk to me, Barbara. I'm when we feel our right being challenged, we get to hollering and kicking and screaming. I just don't sense that the number of people who are being deported, that the outrage, other than some news accounts that I see where there are families that are just as distraught as any one of our families would be when, children are snatched away from their mothers and mothers are snatched out of their beds and families are separated. Is it leading to any kind of coalition organizing to do something in the midterms?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, think about this. The youth vote, the white male youth vote, the male youth vote that love the, all the posturing, I'm the big bad, man, and, I'm about male power and men, dominating everything, all that junk that he talked and people liked because they were like, yeah, give men the power again. We head a household, whatever, all this stuff. So what you've seen is the new polling says they feel like they were stupid beyond measure.
Oh, wow.
They are so remorseful. They're so upset. They don't know what happened to themselves. I mean, that's the worst thing, is when you sit back and you've done something stupid and you have no clue, why did I fall for that? What was wrong with me? That's how they're reacting in this polling data, is that they're just shocked that they were so wrong, that they miscalculated so badly, that they didn't, really understand.
Barbara, what was the miscalculation? That
they thought they were going to get some power. They thought they were going to get some money.
They weren't voting for her, right? And they weren't voting for Black women. They didn't see their interests coinciding with the interests, with our interests at the same time. I understand what they thought they were going to get from Trump. Yes. But at the same time, since it's only one vote per person, with that one vote, they said, okay, I want this from him. But with this one vote, they also didn't see us. They didn't see our struggle as their struggle. I'm sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
No. But they also thought other things were more important. They all these people think, you've been, come on, folks. Have you studied the incel culture, INCEL? They just think women are just out of control. And when they saw Big Bad Daddy talking about how he was gonna, he's gonna make man, the center of everything, and male masculinity. We all got this right. I'm Big Bad Daddy. They shot at me, and I survived, and I'm just, all people fell for that act, and they did not sit back, and because they already had the bias. I mean, how many people did you talk to? Because I know I talked to them about they don't believe a woman can be president.
I worked a bunch of states. I worked a bunch of states.
A woman can't be president. That they didn't think a woman, that was not her place. The Bible said that's not what women are supposed to do. I mean, come on now. And so there's a whole culture of this madness, this hyper masculinity madness. And he rolled that. He rolled that to the White House. And people are sitting back now going, what was I thinking?
I know we've got to come forward in just a moment because we're coming up on the hard 30, but I do want to say this. And white women abandoned us.
Oh, yes, always.
We spent all this money on Dobbs, all this money on Roe v. Wade, all this money on losing control over their bodies and their lives. And we've been through all of his harassment trials. We've seen him pay out big money. And then Donald Trump just said, they said Donald Trump. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. More with Barbara Arnwine on the grind on today's Tuesdays on KBLA.
Can't wait to get back.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. University of Colorado head coach Deion Sanders says he'll continue leading the Buffaloes despite another health setback.
Prayerfully, I'll be right back tomorrow because I don't miss practice. I don't plan on doing such.
After experiencing pain following Saturday's loss to TCU, Coach Prime announced he's undergoing surgery Tuesday. Police are investigating a possible hate crime in North Braddock, Pennsylvania, after a black homeowner's house was vandalized with a racial slur and the words, "Get out." The man, who's lived there over 20 years, told KDKA-TV he did not see the graffiti due to limited vision until a neighbor and mail carrier alerted him. And former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo raised $400,000 within 36 hours of Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams exiting the New York City mayoral's race. With 4 weeks until Election Day, Democrat Zohran Mamdani leads the polls while Cuomo trails behind. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Celebrating 100 years, Mount St. Mary's University LA is dedicated to moving your life and career forward. Earn your undergraduate or graduate degree and become unstoppable. Find out how at msmu.edu.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
UCLA interim coach Tim Skipper was named College Football Coach of the Week. In just his second game on the job, Skipper helped direct the upset of the year so far in college football when UCLA beat Penn State Saturday at the Rose Bowl, 42-37. UCLA was 0-4 entering the game. Penn State was ranked 7th in the country. The African-American coach, a native of New Orleans, doesn't want the Bruins to be a one-hit wonder. The next game for Skipper and the Bruins is Saturday at Michigan State. The Bruins are 1-1 in the Big Ten Conference. If you drink Hennessy, be on the lookout for LeBron's name showing up on certain VSOP bottles. The Lakers star has agreed to become a new spokesperson for the popular beverage. LeBron's name will be displayed on certain Hennessy bottles with an image of a crown, a reference to his King James nickname. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities. And then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Farm. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that hits Black families hardest. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and it's not a normal part of aging. Early signs like repeating questions, missed appointments, even trouble handling bills might seem small, but they matter. The good news? There are treatment options available that may slow AD when diagnosed early. Don't wait. Visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more. This message is brought to you by AZI.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesdays on our show, where none other than attorney Barbara Arnwine, Esquire, on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. She's the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, former president of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. She's internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the 1991 Civil Rights Act. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Barbara, let's talk about an opportunity to build coalition.
Yes.
No farm bill, no ag bill, a government shutdown, China and their tariffs are not allowing for the sale of American soybeans in their country. The Chinese are now buying soybeans from the Venezuelans and the Brazilians to meet their domestic needs. In the meantime, our soybeans are rotting here in the United States, and our farmers are not selling their produce. Now, other than Sanford Bishop, and maybe Benny, and maybe Jim Clyburn, and a few of the other, Jonathan Jackson for sure. Many of these majority-minority districts have large rural areas in them with a dense population in the northern part of their districts, where their constituents while these members of Congress may not be on the Agricultural Committee, they might find themselves on some kind of Justice Committee in Congress. But speaking to the needs of these farmers does matter in coalition building and during this time. Barbara, you remember Jim Hightower out of Texas working with Jesse Jackson in 1984 and 88, milking cows in Iowa. Tell me about coalition building in the midst of this Trump tariff war and terrible economic crisis that he has working men and women in.
Well, you got to build coalition on principle, right? So it's important. Where we left out, we were talking about white women. And this applies to the farmers too. You got to build on principle. You know, you can't become, you're not a true Christian, right? If you don't know how to repent, you don't know how to have remorse, you don't know how to confess of your sins, you got to see them and know that that's not who you want to be again. Well, that's the problem here with these folks, because they did themselves in, right? The farmers voted overwhelmingly for him. And they're in the crisis they're in because of him, because of his tariffs. China just didn't blow up and say, we don't like Americans anymore. He aggressively attacked them. Come on, And so people, now they're telling me, you, and the deep blue sea that we got to pay, for a farmer bailout. Really? Are you kidding me? Because, and listen, I got a lot of sympathy for people who make mistakes. And I can forgive people for making mistakes. But our coalition starts with people recognizing that. Don't expect me to, when you paying, I go to you to help. But when I'm paying, or when you paying, I go to you to help, and you're still trying to inflict pain on me. Come on, we gotta have some clarity here, and I think that it's imperative for all of us when we do coalition building. We got to be honest about what we're building.
I think that's right.
We're working for, and because white women, have had this history of voting white. They don't vote as women; they vote white. That's why our country is so stupid when it comes to women's rights.
But Barbara, they didn't vote for Hillary, Barbara.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But they didn't vote for white women.
They don't vote for white women. They vote for white patriarchy.
Oh wow, I got it.
They vote for white male patriarchy. They believe that if their men are doing well, they're going to do well. They believe that their sons doing well is more important than their daughters doing well, economically. And so, and I mean, because we live in this fiction. The United States is in a bubble, people. We're in a bubble. Globally, we're in a stupid bubble where we have somehow convinced ourselves that we got the dumbest women in the world. That area of the country, India, Sweden, Germany, Britain, even African countries that have women presidents, that somehow they can have bright, smart women. People talking about, Thatcher was so much, Gandhi was so much, all kinds of different women, leaders. We just praise them, we talk about them. But when it comes to U.S. women, no, we ain't voting for one. Woman can't lead. Woman can't be powerful. Woman can't stand with a man. She can't command the military. All this nonsense. We're in a stupid bubble, and that's the result of this acquiescence to white male patriarchy.
Barbara, let me ask you this question. I know we have 3 minutes before we come forward, maybe 3.5, but I want you to take your time on this. What did you see in Hegseth and Donald Trump's speech at Quantico? What did you see? What did you hear?
A warning. Let me quote him. Let me quote this man. He said the following on September 30th. President Donald Trump said the following at Quantico. told Pete we should use some of these. I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military because we're going into Chicago very soon. I said he's about to do some stupid A stuff in Chicago.
It's not funny, but it's not
Come
funny.
on now, you know,
But the
Jesse,
way you
come
said
on
it.
now. Come on, Jesse. Come on. Come on.
It wouldn't be. I mean, it's horrible, right? I mean, and then you got that kind of the guy with the too tight suit on,
Yes.
Hegseth, kind of walking around like he's just being squoze from ankle to the waist,
Ridiculous.
talking about maximum lethality, get rid of fat troops and fat generals. We're airborne
and now his
rangers.
commander-in-chief's in there.
We're airborne rangers, not chairborne rangers. I think this guy sits around all day long coming up with one-liners. He loves to hear himself speak. He loves to look at himself in the mirror. He's a half-ass soldier, but he likes giving men of honor and women of honor commands. And then, the spirit of the attack coming after men and women who serve their country of different races and different colors, as if to suggest that the very nature that they are there, they are not qualified, having earned the respect of their colleagues. I mean, come on, Barbara. I mean, a warning. It's a warning.
Right, it is. It's a warning. And we all gonna pay for it. See, sometimes people make mistakes and they're the only people who pay for their stupid mistakes. We all gonna pay for this one because this is our defense Secretary of Defense, and this is our Commander-in-Chief, and we're all going to pay for their stupidity. I was watching. I don't know if you saw it on social media. They had this really funny video, and it was of all these elderly people, some on walkers, some on canes, and they were talking about. Look at our war-ravaged city of Portland. Look at and they were making a joke in essence because here they are out there singing songs on the corners and having a peaceful gathering, and this fool running around telling people that the city is war-ravaged. I mean, he's delusional. I don't know. He's delusional.
Barbara, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Barbara Hardline on the grind when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
They say the hardest part of getting something done is getting started. Well, we did that 30 years ago when California first took on the tobacco industry. Now, smoking is down 60%, lung cancer 52%. A couple of our cities have already ended tobacco sales. A California without big tobacco isn't just possible, it's already happening. See our progress at undo.org.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
What make you? Yeah.
We're
California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Tenacious Tuesdays with our most tenacious host, Dr. Barbara Arnwine. Tomorrow is Reverend Jesse Jackson's 84th birthday, and we will be having a number of guests stop in on the program to wish the Reverend Jesse Jackson a very happy birthday. I know that Barbara, for a significant part of her career, has worked with my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he is made the more richer because he has gotten to work with and know Barbara Arnwine for the last 30, maybe 40 years of her extraordinary work in the field of transformative justice and social justice. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Barbara, let me sharpen the pencil here for a second. October 15th, you want the entire country to focus and pay its attention on a subject matter that's critical to transformative justice. Barbara Arnwine.
It's critical to all of you. On October the 15th, the United States Supreme Court is going to hear an oral argument in the case of Louisiana versus KBLA. And the issue in that case is the question of whether or not you can, as a remedial context for evil, long persistent racial discrimination in voting, create a majority-minority district to give African Americans the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. In this instance, good old Louisiana had denied Blacks racially gerrymandered purposefully their maps to make sure that they cracked and packed Black voters so that only one congressional district was available to Blacks, even though the population argued that there should be at least 2 districts. And after many years of great litigation done by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, that's Thurgood Marshall's organization, everyone, they did a magnificent job on this case, and they won. But, get to that big old but. We had that problem with, quote, non-Black voters who filed a lawsuit, not even identifying themselves. To this day, we don't even know if they live in the darn district, because that's how easy it is for you to attack something when it's in favor of African Americans. We don't even know if they live in the district. We don't know who these, quote, non-Blacks are. But they filed a lawsuit saying that it was racially discriminatory against them for there to be a district that allowed for Blacks to make up, to remediate all those years of denial. So that's the issue before the court. Can you have majority-minority districts? Was it warranted in this circumstance? Is it a violation of the 14th Amendment? Does it meet strict scrutiny? All these legal standards. The other thing, though, that, listen, these people don't just go for, an inch if they think they can get a mile. They're also arguing that the entirety of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional. That the very existence of Section 2 that says there could be no discrimination in voting, that they're saying that that provision of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional because there's no evidence that there is discrimination in voting in this country. So they're trying to.
But there is evidence in racially segregated neighborhoods in every community and every town in this country that clearly says blacks live on this side of town, white folks have been on that side of town. And when we take our pencil and we try and draw a congressional district with about 700,000 people in it, that district may take some crazy shapes across the state in order to round up all of these segregated neighborhoods in order to make Emmanuel Cleaver possible, Cleo Fields possible, Bobby Rush or Jonathan Jackson possible, Danny Davis possible, our Brown brothers and sisters, Luis Gutierrez possible.
You got it.
You have to draw these districts because there's some little Mexican town, some little Mexico, some little Venezuela, some little Puerto Rico, some little community somewhere across the city of Chicago or Los Angeles that has to be drawn in a way so someone who speaks the same language and understands the same culture that we do can have the opportunity, watch this, to go to Congress and desegregate that all-white male body.
Tell me about it.
Talk to me, Barbara.
Tell me about it.
You're not walking with me.
You know. Because folks, bottom line is that, these folks don't want to represent us.
That's
correct. They don't want to power share. They don't want us to have political power. And so this case is important. If you don't know about this case, then you're missing the time that you live in. Not only do you need to know more about this case, you can go to LDF, and you can go to, NAACP, LDF.org. NAACP, LDF.org, and read about this case.
LDF stands for the Legal Defense Fund.
You got it. And read about this case, people. And we want you to join us. You don't have to be lawyers. You don't have to know everything about the case. We want you to join us on this next Wednesday. Not tomorrow, but this next Wednesday, October 15th. We want you to join us at the Supreme Court no later than 9 o'clock because the oral argument's scheduled for 10. And we want you to be there to say that you care, to say I want political power, to say that I won't just sit around and let people steal from me my rights that my people fought for. Don't get confused, people, because it's not just about the past, it's about the future. What do you want your children to inherit? Nothing? Nothing? They're going to have Johnson as their representative? Are you kidding me?
Barbara, are the other organizations lining up with you on the 15th? Are you sense that they're sounding the alarm bell as well?
Oh, absolutely. We're trying to, who's really doing a magnificent job besides, of course, the NAACP LDF. They got a NAACP itself. But let me tell you who's really amazing. Black Voters Matters. And in addition to the Transformative Justice Coalition, I want to give Black Voters Matters a shout out because they're chartering buses to bring people from 9 states to be here, to be part of that argument. This is history and a historic moment. The question that your grandchildren will ask you is, where were you? Where were you? Where were you? Don't say I was in the bed. Don't say I was on the internet. Don't say I was just too disgusted. I need you to take that disgust. I want you to take that would have been in the bed self. I want you to take that I could have been on social media self and put yourself in front of that court. Be there in Washington, D.C. at 1st and Maryland Avenue. Be there. We want you there. We want people to know that this means something to us and that we will not give up our power. What did my beautiful brother say? Power concedes nothing
Without a demand.
Man.
It never has.
Demand justice.
And it never will. Barbara, let me ask you this question.
Demand justice.
Let me ask you this question. I know we're going to be together next Tuesday, which is one day before the arguments are made. And I'm going to ask Sheena Towns, our producer, to see if you can drop back in sometime on Wednesday, even if it's just for a few moments, to let us know how the arguments went and what you thought of the arguments and the body language, if you will, of the justices. You know, Clarence Thomas has basically declared that he thinks the Voting Rights Act itself is unconstitutional, and now is as good a time as any to get rid of it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the body language of the justices.
Yes, and based on the questions they ask also.
That's correct.
Yes.
And especially Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. I know that she's going to be, along with Sotomayor and Kagan, probably swimming upstream all by themselves. I'm Jesse
Jackson. We're going to be watching Kavanaugh and some others, yes.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward tomorrow with Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I am so grateful, Barbara, for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580. Until tomorrow.
Thank you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. University of Colorado head coach Deion Sanders says he'll continue leading